The Romanian police is generally okay-ish. They have no qualm in picking up troublemakers, especially immigrant troublemakers, for swift deportation. The Romanian police is split into four big categories: the General Directorate for Countering the Organized Crime, the Directorate for Criminal Investigations, the Directorate for Public Safety Police, and the Clerks, otherwise known as the Directorate for Administrative Police, which takes care of passports, criminal records filings, and other clerk-related things. Now, each of these directorates have several departments. The Directorate for Public Safety Police, for instance, has three of these sub-departments: the Public Order, the Transport Police Directorate, which takes care of trains and airports and train stations mostly, and the Traffic Police Directorate. Now, the traffic police are by far the rotten apple of the police forces in this country and responsible for the vast majority of police abuses overall, and by far the ones guilty for the largely negative view that way too many people have of the police. Now, if you ask anyone who has bad things to say about the police, the very likely explanation for their views comes from the abuses of the traffic police. And they're right. In way too many counties, the number of imbeciles per police station in the traffic police is astonishingly high. Recently, the traffic police in Arad, in the western part of the country, they fined Santa. Let's explore. Hello everyone, and welcome to the very last episode for the current year. Okay, so this is a half-serious story, but still keeping in mind somewhat of a good mood. Coming from Arad Online, Santa Claus was fined in the traffic in Arad with 750 lei. Now that would be around 150 euros. And goes like this, quote, "Based on the principle that no good deed goes unpunished, a young man who wanted to bring happiness to the children during Christmas time was punished by the police. Since the beginning of December, the Arad man Benoni Lazar has been manning his Santa sleigh around the town to delight the looks of the Aradians. His vehicle doesn't ride on snow and it isn't pulled by reindeer, but it's rather an old 1300 Dacia refurbished and decorated for the Christmas season. Benny, as his friends call him, wanted to contribute to the changing of the atmosphere in the town and rode his car decorated with thousands of small lights and dressed as Santa. Along the way, he would offer free rides to children, but his deed, although deeply appreciated by the citizenry, wasn't regarded as a good thing by the police. One police patrol pursued Santa's sleigh and stopped him in the Podgoria area to fine him because his lighting system has not been pre-approved. Now, the cops took video shots of my car and issued a fine of 750 lei in my name. They told me we're not in Lapland and I'm not Santa. Well, I was dressed as Santa and I only did this to bring some smiles on the faces of children, said the man. Benny, who has a deep passion for Dacia 1300 cars, paid over 4,000 lei, that's over 1,000 US dollars, to buy LED lights and decorate the old car, which just had its 41st anniversary. He worked for 4 days to set up the 74 linear meters of cables and small lights. It started from some pictures that I saw on the internet, and since I love children, I said I must decorate my car too and take some rides to bring smiles on people's faces, he said to the paper. He actually rode the Santa sleigh in neighboring city Timișoara too, where the police pulled him over twice. However, there he wasn't issued a fine or had his documents checked. The police officers there only wanted to take pictures of the young man's car and wish him Merry Christmas. Yes, I was pulled over in Timișoara too, once quite aggressively with police lights, but they wanted to take pictures. They were pleasantly surprised to see my car, says the man. Even though in our town the police thought of him as a criminal, Benny says he's not discouraged, and for the 2017 Christmas he has an even bigger surprise for Aradians, and he already started working on implementing it. Alright. First of all, legally speaking, the chap definitely has a case in court. The law used to fine him was issued for entirely different purposes. No judge would be mad enough to uphold such sanction, and I'm sure he knows that already and probably already filed for contesting the ticket by now. But on a moral level, how much of an idiot you'd have to be to do this? No, seriously, how much of an indoctrinated, common-sense-free little drone do you have to be so autistic as to not make the difference between the dangers posed to the rest of the traffic by unapproved lights, such as those mimicking the police, or very dark windows that reduce visibility, the actual purpose for which the law exists, and the guy who plays Santa, gives candy to kids, and carries them and their parents to their destinations for free because he's a nice guy. Now, this is a topic that we will explore much more seriously in 2017, perhaps in the upcoming month, even in January. This absolutist view of the law and the outright religious fanaticism developed by both the left and the right around this idea that the rule of law is inherently good no matter what. And it is the right that falls more for this than the left, even though it is also the right that has a tradition in upholding the principle that an immoral law deserves to be broken. The left only cares about the law when it's convenient, otherwise they don't even pretend to give a damn. This is particularly a problem in civil law countries, that is to say all of continental Europe, where the law is not supposed to work in the literal sense, where nuances such as the spirit of the law actually do matter. And the reason this tradition exists is precisely because there have been too many examples in history when too many laws and legal literalism led to de facto lawlessness. When nobody knows what the law is, and when most laws contravene the most basic common sense and accepted harmless practices of the wider society, that's when confidence in the law goes out of the window and the seeds of de facto lawlessness are being sown. And that is why the spirit of the law matters. Anyway, the main point was for me to shame the Arad traffic police because they deserve it to the fullest extent. Fining Santa for being Santa should in itself be a crime. Leave Christmas and Santa alone, for Christ's sake. See? Even a godless heathen like me can do that, but not the Arad traffic police. Shame on you. And with all of that being said, since this is the last episode for the current year, let me pour some drink here. Now, 2016 was a great year for sanity and a nightmare for the left. Now, needless to say, I'm generally happy about 2016. Much better year than I expected it to be back in January the 1st, the current year. So, in that note, Einok, as we would say here, cheers for freedom and to the end of socialism. Decent enough. Anyway, I've scheduled a video for January 1st with announcements and what to expect in the next year, and after that there will be a small break as I recover physically. We've got a long year ahead of us. It's going to be glorious. So, yeah. With all of that being said, many thanks to all of you who've been with this channel in the current year. Hopefully you'll be here for the next year as well, maybe even in larger numbers. And I'll see you soon on Freedom Alternative.